The prophet Elijah had just seen God rain down fire from heaven, and he saw him end the 3-year drought in the land. The prophets of the false god Baal had all been executed, and the people were bowing before God, crying, "The Lord, He is the God." What a glorious victory! When King Ahab went home and told his wife Jezebel everything that had happened, she was furious. She sent a messenger to Elijah, warning him that by that time the next day, Elijah would be dead. In spite of all that Elijah had just watched God do, this threat from Queen Jezebel sent him into a panic. Elijah immediately left Israel, dropped his servant off in Judah, and traveled a day's journey into the wilderness. He camped out under a juniper tree and began to ask the Lord to let him die. Then he fell asleep. After he had napped a while, he felt someone nudge him, saying, "Arise and eat." When Elijah sat up, nobody was there, but there was a meal cooking on the fire and a bottle of water next to it. After Elijah had eaten, he lay back down and slept some more. Soon, he heard the angel speak again, "Arise and eat." Elijah looked and saw another meal prepared for him. He ate, and then he continued his journey. That meal would sustain him for the next 40 days. Elijah eventually arrived at Horeb, Mount Sinai, where Moses had received the law of God centuries before. Elijah climbed the mountain until he came to a cave where he took refuge. The word of the Lord came to Elijah there in the cave. "What doest thou here, Elijah?" Elijah made his case before the Lord. "I've been very jealous for the Lord God of hosts, for the children of Israel have forsaken thy covenant, thrown down thine altars, and slain thy prophets with the sword. And I, even I only, am left, and they seek my life to take it away." Elijah was in complete despair, ready to give up. He heard the Lord instruct him, "Elijah, go and stand on top of the mountain before the Lord." Before Elijah could even get out of the cave, there was a mighty wind, so strong that it crushed the rocks. But with all of that, Elijah didn't find God's presence. When that wind had passed, there was a great earthquake. But God's presence wasn't in the earthquake. After the earthquake, a great fire passed through. But Elijah didn't find God's presence in the fire. After all of that huge commotion, there was a powerful stillness. And in the stillness, Elijah heard a gentle voice, practically a whisper. When Elijah heard that voice, he took off his mantle, which is an overcoat or a cloak, and he wrapped it around his head. We can only guess why. Maybe out of the fear of the elements. Perhaps out of humility at the voice of the Lord. Or possibly, Elijah was resisting the Lord's voice, stubbornly clinging to the despair that had been driving him. Elijah stood up and went to the mouth of the cave with his mantle wrapped around his head. There he heard God speak again. "What doest thou here, Elijah?" Elijah gave the same answer as before. "I have been very jealous for the Lord God of hosts, because the children of Israel have forsaken thy covenant, thrown down thine altars, and slain thy prophets with the sword. And I, even I only, am left, and they seek my life to take it away." The Lord responded to Elijah's words of despair by giving him a new assignment, letting him know, "I'm not through with you yet." There's no greater cure for despair than that for a devoted disciple. Elijah's new assignment had 3 parts. First, anoint Hazael to be the king of Syria. Second, anoint Jehu to be the king of Israel. And third, anoint Elisha to take your place as a prophet in Israel. And then God ended his assignment with a word of correction. "Just so you know, Elijah, you're not the only one left who fears and serves me. There are still 7,000 in Israel who haven't bowed the knee to Baal." For some reason, of God's 3 assignments, Elijah only accomplished 1 before his departure, calling Elisha to carry on his ministry. Elijah found Elisha plowing a field with a team of oxen. Elisha's team was one of 12 teams in that field. Elijah trudged through the rows of newly plowed dirt, making his way to Elisha. When he reached him, he took his mantle, the very same cloak that he had wrapped around his head back at Sinai. He threw it on Elisha as he plowed, and then Elijah kept walking. Elisha left the oxen and ran after Elijah, yelling, "I'll follow you! But first, let me go say goodbye to my mom and dad." Elijah kept walking. "I didn't say anything about following me. Go back to your plowing if you want to." But Elisha knew that God was calling him, which was the very thing that Elijah wanted to prove with his nonchalant attitude. Elisha used the yoke to start a fire. He killed the oxen and cooked them, and he served his family and friends a huge farewell picnic. Then he said goodbye, and he went and followed Elijah. And God used Elisha to do even greater things than Elijah had done. Christian, when you face discouragement and even despair in the Lord's service, God will show you the way forward. Stay the course.